Hey guys, welcome back to Trekyards. I'm Captain Foley.
I'm Commander Kongs. We've gone back into the past now of Discovery. We've shifted all the way back.
To Prodigy. We're back to Prodigy. Episode 6, Kobayashi, and it's good to have Prodigy back. And what a way to kick off.
Yes, we had a couple of week delay as Discovery rolled out and made a mid-season break. There's an epic cliffhanger of Season 1, Part 1, and Season 1, Part 2 for another spread of episodes until whichever show comes up next. So these are obviously half-an-hour shows, or 25 minutes, but jam-packed. They really try hard on these. So join us for our full review analysis, breakdown scene by scene tonight. Our usual time, 10 p.m. GMT, 5 p.m. Eastern. It'll be a lot of fun. There's a lot of little teeny things to pick up with this one. And of course, you can imagine all of our small videos throughout the week. There will be tons, I'm sure. For better or for worse. There'll be tons.
Sure is, well. Yes.
So Stuart, what do you think of Season 1.5, Episode 6?
I loved it. We got some backstory for the Diviner and for Gwen, which was great. We've got the introduction of... Oh, by the way, spoilers, guys.
Well, yes. Well said. Right moment before you went there.
Yeah. Got the introduction of Chakotay, finally. He was actually the captain of the Protostar, which is cool. We got definitely some really cool holodeck scenes. Kobayashi Maru scenario with some legacy Star Trek characters. So there was a lot in this one, and it was fun. It was a fun return to the world of Prodigy. I think they did a fantastic job, so I really enjoyed it. How about you?
It's a totally different vibe. Totally different vibe, even to Lower Deck. So even up to the point they got into Maru's scenario, I wasn't quite back in the zone. But about halfway through, it's what it brings to the show came to life, and what this only show can do, and it got really, really exciting. I think it's only on second watch it'll be good from the start. Breath of fresh air, especially considering Discovery, where so much sort of happens but also doesn't happen. This felt, like I say, cram-packed. Almost every scene had meaning, even proton grenades. You know, everything kind of was meaty and thought out, and the ending was great. I'm glad we had that cliffhanger. Maru was I called most of it, as in we said legacy people.
You even called the Birds of Prey, which was great.
We got given the treat that we needed, but also it was what made sense. There was no sort of fan service there in the sense of, yeah, these are the best officers. This is the, you know, it was updated but not. I mean, I kind of wish we got more than one vague little shot of the Maru itself. That was certainly missing, but we did tick the charts of, you know, we saw an exterior of the Enterprise, Bird of Prey. Like, we did get those ticks, just even in a minuscule sort of way. It was good. It was a good mix of the real story, which definitely the show needed because we hadn't quite started the show yet. And also the character stuff. It's happened to intertwine both into canon, which is always the best kind because that's the universe we are in.
I'm just kind of annoyed that there's only 87 people aboard the Kobayashi Maru in this one, because whenever I play Bridge Crew, there's like hundreds of people on board, and we've got 167 off before. We would have been done the mission and gone if there was just 87 people. But anyway.
Well, especially as the Galaxy has like a lot of transporters. I mean, that's like...
But no, I mean, it was fantastic. It was definitely fan servicey in a way. A lot of people are going to say that, but that's okay. Using clips and audio clips from...
Well, let's talk about that. I mean, that was a surprise.
Yes, it was. And you say they gave him the best officer. I don't think so. Data should have been there for sure. 709, even though she wasn't part of Starfleet, I guess.
But you can tell it was kind of their favourites. I mean, you can argue Odo is the best. We've had all these debates. Odo can shapeshift, Worf can't, so that takes him into the lead. Spock is definitive. He beats Data, give or take. He's definitive. Uhura, we don't really consider other Helms officers being iconic in the same way as Uhura. And then Scott is obviously the chief engineer. That would, so it kind of... But we'd have 3 TOSs, or, you know, at least TOS cast.
It's just weird to have Uhura at Ops, because Ops does way more than just communications.
But that's the equivalent station.
I know.
And it was nice. They did get Gates back. Boy, you could tell the audio difference, obviously. But I was like, okay, we did get a person. She didn't have as much. I mean, well, let's be honest. She had more than Tom Paris did in his episode, because there was lots of short dialogue. But at least she had a few. It would be kind of nice if she had one more bit, like something meaty. But it was real. You need some. You know, I've done this before, temperamental a little bit, and trying to make a scene of other scenes, and you definitely felt the lack of connective tissue between the dialogue, because obviously you're writing Dahl's dialogue in between everyone else. That's what you have. And so you needed one character there to be the bridge that can throw you more specific, and that was obviously Gates at Beverly, since she hasn't come back yet. That was a fun choice. No, it was good. I mean, you could definitely hear the TOS lack of audio quality, though I feel like for some of the clips, they deliberately use like a DVD version rather than like from the original recording, because some are how you think they're sounding, but like, they had some good audio as well. Like, some of the clips are kind of odd. And I love going from, like, in the same sentence, Spock, from young Spock to old Spock to JJ Spock in the same, like, it's like, oh, okay, I can tell he's aged in 20 years in 3 lines, which was really, really funny to hear. But, yeah, it worked.
Well, most of them were early Spock, honestly, very early TOS.
Well, that's why they picked Klingons. I mean, I'm sure they looked and they thought, well, we have neutral zone stuff with him and etc. It was very clever, and it was definitely rewarding to hear them. It would have been nice to have, fresh lines, but you can't really go wrong with just respecting it to the literal nth degree. There's no more respectful than using the original dialogue. And Odo was very good in terms of they incorporated him. I thought that, because obviously he's recorded a lot later.
His line of dialogue is, there's 2 Klingon ships incoming and then 3 to cloak. And then we get the line, we're surrounded by Spock. And it's like, are you though? It's only 3 ships. And Odo just reported 2. Anyway.
Well, he hasn't gelatinated in a while, so he's a bit off his game. That's funny, though.
Yeah, I think it was fun to listen to the lines and try to suss out what episode they're from. I can get most of them, especially for Spock, obviously. Odo, I'd need to really do a deep dive into DS9 to find out where his lines were. But you can even hear the background audio when they spoke, like either the station, a little bit of a music cue, just
for Odo as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
As if CBS wouldn't give them the original dailies of the audio recording, which I suppose they
probably could have, but that would have taken a lot of time to dig that out. And probably a lot of red tape and paperwork, where it's just easier to throw in a DVD, get the clip, use an audio program like Audacity to kind of filter out the music a bit.
I know, when you own the rights. Odo especially, you could hear the music in like 2 moments. It was really strange. Like, that was a battle of the Defiant. You could tell because you could hear the Defiant.
Yeah, it was fun. It was really fun to see. And having Gates McFadden back was an interesting choice for sure.
She didn't sound like her at the start, but you could tell in the middle of her performances, she got it. She was back there. It just took a little bit to kind of get in the zone.
That's what I was going to say earlier that I forgot. Our live we did last night, we were talking about the Kobayashi Maru and how it's TNG. So it would be cool if it was the Romulans instead of the Klingons, because they are at peace with the Klingons, which would have worked fine, because the line of dialogue that Spock used was from Balance of Terror with the neutral zone, as opposed to any Klingon neutral zone. So I felt it should have been the Romulans, but it was cool to see the Klingons, because we haven't seen Klingons in Discovery or anything, and those are Klingons. Like, that was great to see. We got aboard the ship. It was really good. And it's the Kobayashi Maru. It's the standard program. Even the ship was a TOS ship for the Kobayashi Maru. It had the red Bizarre collectors.
Which we'll do zooms of, and I'm looking forward to actually doing my AI enhancements and see what the hell it looked like, because I've only seen this thing once on a big TV far away, so I'm looking forward to seeing.
So watch our videos. We're going to have some cool breakdown videos.
And I think the Klingons, I can see, though, them staying with, well, it's classic for a reason, and politically if it's been that way for 100 years, you can kind of say, well, that was what it was. If you change Romulans might say, our ambassador's like, excuse me, you say you hate us more now? No. So just keep it as Klingons is fine. I'm sure they, have fun with it. Lols, Klingons. I think that's sort of the moment that to the episode over the edge in terms of quality, because you've already got the great TNG bridge with great shots, with great voiceover, with great likenesses, great job, and great costumes, and you think that's it. You think, at some point, we're going to stop with Enterprise D, we're going to finish the scene, we're going to move on. Oh, that's a sad. Oh, no, Klingons. And then we just get one shot. I'm like, okay, they want to tease us. Then they go on, have a little battle. Spock does all the work, that's fine, he's Spock. And it's like, no, they went full on. That didn't have to in any way, but did. And I will say another thing I was right about. I said you don't build that level of Bird of Prey bridge for it to be destroyed. I said we were going to see it, because it makes it much more worth building. Here it was, fully assembled. So
it was in the episode right before the break, yeah. The crashed one. Nice.
I told you so. But it's good, though, which implies we might see the D bridge again. Although it was less detailed, and I called that out as well, because the bridge is very, very detailed. Even motion L cards. Don't know if you noticed, but the L cards I didn't think moved in the Enterprise D bridge, which for mine don't move either, because it sucks to do motion L cards, but the Klingon kind of were working. So it's interesting the kind of quality differences between the different new sets, but that was like, level above. And then you got to see Enterprise D on the view screen, and And I'm pretty sure, Stuart, that explosion was the one from Star Trek 6. I'm pretty sure recycled from 6 and then 5, the Birds of Prey getting blown up. But that'd be a fun reference to do the explosion again, especially as it's like the Bird of Prey did it to the Enterprise D. I think that's what they did.
I thought the same thing, that they're going to call it up and we're not going to see it. He's going to come off the holodeck being all sad that he lost or whatever. But no, like it was basically like Boimler in Lower Decks. Do it again, do it again, do it again. And I didn't expect all that, and then to replace the engineer and have Scotty show up.
That was
like,
beautiful.
Yeah.
And every time we see a proper costume, it re-canonizes it in a sense, because they haven't shown these things in a long time. Discovery keeps undoing, redoing, Picard keeps undoing, redoing. Boom.
Once he found out that it was a no-win scenario, he'd be all cocky, but he actually had learned kind of his lesson and learned that he needs to listen to his crew, and so that's good. But I assumed once he found out it was a no-win scenario, he'd be like, yeah, it's fine. Of course I didn't win.
Well, you don't often do something sort of 60, 70 times. Okay, yes, it might only be a short situation, but you kind of got the sense he did 60 or 70, and you did kind of feel this growth in him. But being faced, that's the point. That is the point of it. He just was allowed to do it more than an average officer, because I don't think they would say just do it. I think Kurt did like 4 times. It was a lot less. And
going back to the Boimler thing, I mean, Boimler got like 100%. Or 99% or whatever. Well, he had 100% and went down to 99 because he had to keep going. But Dal almost beat it. Honestly, if he wouldn't have put his feet up on that console, I'm sure something else might have happened to the Enterprise. Congrats to him. He was definitely thinking outside the box and not really being Starfleety.
And that's why I thought that that's when the show, it could bring its own sense in. This is a teenager who does sort of respect space travel, but doesn't quite as well, and can just do his own thing. And then hiding behind the thing. That was all fun. I do think, though, it was desperately needed when they said, do this barrel roll. I was like, we're going to see the exterior. No. That I thought was heavily missing, but that'd be a whole different level of like, oh, now I've got to build an Enterprise D model. It's big and epic.
Well, we did see one, but yeah, it made sense in the context. We even said in our live last night that we were talking about this before it came out, that we probably wouldn't see any exterior shots, because why would you in the context of a simulation? And it was perfect. Barrel rolls, you see the stars on the screen, and then you get to the Klingon ship, and then you see the Enterprise. It all worked out beautifully as far as that went.
Yeah, it was super in context, but they do sometimes cheat and show exteriors on holodecks. I know I did. But it was fine. Just like the way that action sounded, you just wanted to see it.
Yeah, well, exactly, yeah.
Right, now the other half of the story, Stuart.
Well, I guess it goes back 17 years ago.
Which doesn't make sense.
It doesn't.
Not at all. And years before that. So we can see at least 20,
yes,
based on the context.
Because he says 17 years ago, they say we've been searching for years.
And Chakotay was just an ensign, lieutenant at that point.
Yeah, so there might be some time travel-y shenanigans.
There is. We will certainly debate that.
One thing I kind of want to point out before we get into that discussion is, quickly, the Protostar traveled 4,000 light years. Started in the Delta Quadrant, 4,000 light years. That's pretty impressive. We don't know where they are because she didn't finish her goddamn sentence. 10%
of, or like 6% of Voyager's entire journey. They didn't say how long, though. They were still reacting to it, but there wasn't seconds. It could have been a minute, could have been 5 minutes. It wasn't clear by any means, so they kind of left it nebulous.
It seemed pretty quick, though. It seemed like we just jumped in and just jumped out again. Say, whoa, that was cool.
But I don't think you could say 1 second, otherwise that's spore drive level. So that's what I'm saying. They kind of left it vague.
And then they say the Protostar drive is inoperable. I think it needs time to recharge, because we see it later. It is red. When it fired up, it was blue. So I think there's going to be like it's like those OP things. They need a cooldown period or
refuel it with a unique matter, like the spore drive a little bit.
So that was a little bit interesting. I wish we kind of figured out where they are. They're probably still in the Delta Quadrant.
Well, they said they're in the Gamma.
Oh, did they? Okay, I missed that then, apparently.
I mean, and obviously 4,000's a hell of a long leap. And there is a center. So you could, because we know they're on the border between Alpha and Delta, at least, but border could be hundreds of light years, but border. So if they're in the middle, they can still jump between. But no, that was fun. They didn't say, they said we couldn't rely on it again. They didn't make it clear it wasn't working. But since nobody in the ship knows how it works, not even Janeway, all they know is button can't be pressed again. That's all they know. So I liked that. And if you're going to give them God tech, like that sort of drive, if you make it a once every XYZ number of, that's a good way of doing it.
I found out, too, that the ship was a prototype and that Chakotay was, in fact, the captain. Now, we do know that he has a crew, including Jason Alexander, who's, I think it's Tolerate or something. We're going to see those characters at some point. They're going to have to go back for them. They're going to have to rescue them, because I have a feeling that they're in prison somewhere because of the Diviner.
But how did Captain Chakotay crash in the Delta Quadrant 20 years ago? Despite this being the same year as Lower Decks, give or take, by about a year. And Voyager only got back like 5 years ago. which is great. Definitely time travel, definitely weird stuff, and obviously he had a new uniform. And Chakotay could be captain till he's 90 or 80 or 70, and with modern tech, I mean, he could easily be from 20 years post Picard, went back, and that'll be a whole debate because you can't rectify that without cleverness. And that was definitely a thing. That flashback was bold. I'm excited to see like when in the timeline that is, like actually pinpoint. Because it was very distinct, it was very precise. Giving us a full star date, and that's bold as well.
Yeah, they've got all the raw data. It's just going to take a while to port over it, so they're going to get the answers sooner than later, I'm sure. But
well, and that was the thing. Okay, it's locked information. Fantastic. Don't give us. Oh wait, it's locked by untranslatable code with basically a dead race that happens to be her race, and the code is a saying from her planet. So why is a code from a long dead, quote marks, Delta Quadrant species probably the code for a data for... None of that links up, which is fantastic.
No, because I think the diviner might have somehow got that code into the computer. Whether he actually had possession of the ship at one point, or he's the reason that it crashed, or the crew's gone, or he just transmitted something that... I don't know. That's what I kind of got from that, because him and Gwen are the last of their kind, and her being the progeny of him. I love how Deathstroke is like, that goes against the order. We find out they are the Vanakat is their race, and their homeworld is Solum, Solum, S-O-L-U-M. So, I mean, we learned a lot about them as well.
Well, we learned a lot of the core things, even though none of the context, but a lot of the core stuff. If they're even related to the ship at all, then maybe it's their drive technology from the future, and that's, and then that, one of their engineers, his wife, because she was also like a clone baby as well. She was made in a test tube. And there's only him DNA-wise, so she's some sort of, manufactured entity, which is fun in itself, half clone, half whatever. A ton of interesting stuff. We know they're a 2-season order. We know the seasons are 20 episodes, so that's a big old... Like, they have a story they can tell, right? And they've come a lot more than the Discovery episode does in half as much time. So this is how you show, we're going to have a story, trust us, rather than let's change every season as we go. Let's change half seasons, let's kill the characters. Like, no. Let's do it the proper way. Let's do it in 40 episodes and see where we go.
There's a lot to unpack in this one, is what we're saying.
Go watch it, guys. It's great.
Yeah, and the live breakdown that we do later today, it will be scene by scene as we do. There's a lot to talk about in this one, which doesn't seem like a lot. It just seems like, ooh, nostalgia fuel. But if you actually do break it down, there's a lot of little nuggets of information and things. So definitely worth a watch if you want to watch the live. We'd appreciate it. Well, and on that note then, comment down below what you thought of the episode. Be sure to watch our live later. So if you don't want to miss any of the lives, click the notification bell icon, make sure you're subscribed, all that jazz. Like the video, share it around, and join us for the lives where you can talk to us in real time. Any ideas you have, you can bounce right off us and we will talk about them.
And if you want to support us directly in what we do in all of our lives, our reviews, our sub breakdowns, our comparison videos, all fun stuff that we do for you guys, then support us on Patreon, PayPal. They're different, obviously. Join the channel via YouTube or Super Chat during those lives. We love the interaction, and it's just a great way of expanding what we do. And if you can, please do. If you can't, don't worry, but we'd appreciate it. And hopefully we'll see you next time.
That's right. So until then, he is Commander Cocking.
He is Captain Foley.
See you guys later.
Bye, guys.
Bye.